Hi there, welcome to the channel or welcome back. My name is Angela and today I'm going to share with you guys my very favorite sweet potato recipe. And you might be thinking, Thanksgiving is long behind us, and with today being December 7th, that is true. However, I'm a firm believer that the hearty root vegetables should be enjoyed all throughout the cold weather period. And this recipe, I've got it here because no matter how many times I cook a recipe, I can never remember all the instructions and the ingredient quantities. I'm kind of in respect and awe of those people who can do that, not me. So I've got my recipe right here, and I've been making this recipe for at least 15 years, and it seems to be a big hit every Thanksgiving. And I'm going to make it again today to share with my coworkers when I head into work this evening. This recipe is from eatingwell.com. I'll put a link to that site below. I do think it's worth noting, though, that when I went back after all these years to that website, I couldn't find this particular recipe on their site. There were probably a dozen sweet potato recipes or maybe more. I couldn't find this exact one, and it may be that because it's been so long um, since I found this one on their site that maybe they just don't have it up there anymore. So given that, I'm going to put the ingredients in the instructions in the description below in case you cannot find it on their website. With that, let's get into it. I did take the liberty of going ahead and pre-peeling and chopping my sweet potatoes, and they've been sitting here in this bowl of water for a day, and they've just cold water, and that usually keeps them pretty fresh and keeps them from turning brown. And same with regular white potatoes, at least in my experience. So if you want to pre-prep, you can. So before we get started mixing everything all together, maybe it would be more helpful to you guys if I just read through the ingredients. It calls for 3 sweet potatoes peeled and cut into 1-inch cubes. Since I'm cutting the recipe in half this time, I just used 2 sweet potatoes. It calls for a 1/3 cup of maple syrup, which I have my 1/3 cup, measuring cup right here. I just filled it halfway. It calls for 4 tablespoons of butter melted. I've just got 2. And I've got my lemon juice here. Calls for a tablespoon. I'm going to do a 1/2 tablespoon. Calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon. And lastly, it calls for 1 cup of chopped pecans, and I've got a 1/2 cup here. You can be liberal or use your own judgment on how fine you want your pecans chopped up. I kind of left them in, I guess, medium-sized pieces. I didn't grind them too fine or chop them too fine, but I also didn't want them to be like too large. So I just started out with pecan halves and chopped them using my food chopper. So with that, I've got everything kind of laid out. I think the first thing to do is to go ahead and get this butter melted. I'm going to just pop that into the microwave for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and I'll be right back. While that's in the microwave, I'm going to go ahead and drain the water off of my sweet potatoes. All right, that did the trick. So I'm going to put the sweet potatoes into a bowl here. And now that I'm looking at, so the recipe calls for using a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. I'm going to use something smaller just because I'm cutting the recipe in half. But now that I'm looking at the amount of potatoes to this bowl, I'm going to give it a try, but I might need a bigger, I think I'm going to need a bigger baking dish. So give me a minute to grab that, which is in the cabinet right in front of you guys. So I'm going to put it on pause and be right back. So what I came up with, and it's not attractive per se, this pan has had a lot of love over the years. It's smaller than 9 by 13. I would guess maybe, I don't know, 8 by 12, something like that. So let's see how this is going to work. And I think this is going to be just fine. I also kind of kept in mind that because I'm going to be taking these in to work, it might make more sense that I don't use one of my nicer dishes in case it doesn't make its way back home. Okay, so I've got my potatoes into the pan. Now I'm going to combine everything else into a bowl and mix it well. And I think I'm going to give this bowl a good rinse and just do it right in here. Spoon. Okay. There goes my maple syrup. My butter. And lemon juice. So the only thing that's not getting mixed into here is the nuts. So that'll come later. Let me get my oven preheating to 400 too. Okay, I should have said that at the beginning, and it kind of to illustrate that kind of illustrates that I am definitely not a cooking channel. For those of you that come here just for the gardening, rest assured I'm not turning this channel into a cooking channel. I'm just trying to kind of show ways that we can use our homegrown vegetables. I didn't grow sweet potatoes this year, but I have in years past. So if you do grow sweet potatoes, this might be one good way you can use your harvest, or you can use store-bought like I am this year. So that's kind of the point behind me doing these recent recipe videos, to show ways we can use all the good things that we've grown in our garden. Also, because there's not much I can share with you garden related over the winter until it comes time to start garden planning. So with that, let's carry on. I'm going to put my lemon juice in. Well, that was a mess. I don't know if that showed up, but I had a little bit of an accident here. Not a big deal. Okay. And salt. By the way, if you guys are not using one of these little salt dishes and you're still, like I was doing until recently, using your salt shaker every time you were making a recipe and having to unscrew the cap or whatever, I want to say that this is kind of a game changer. I got this, I think at Target, salt and pepper sellers, I think they're called. And this is wonderful when you're cooking, because you can just take the lid right off and dip in however much you need. It has been really nice when it comes to cooking. Anything to save some extra steps, huh? So let me give this a good little stir. I probably should have used a smaller bowl because it barely covers the floor of the bowl here, and it's making it a little hard to mix in, but we're getting there. I think just kind of swirling it around is doing most of the mixing for me. Okay, once this is mixed well, we're going to pour it right over our sweet potatoes. And I'm hoping that I have enough liquid here. Maybe thinking maybe it was kind of hard to have the recipe exactly because some of the quantities, like 3 sweet potatoes, so I used 2. I guess I could have used 1.5, but then I would have been wasting a half of one. So we'll see. I think it'll work all in all. So let's pour this over our potatoes. And it does say toss to coat. So kind of part of me wants to make my own notes and change this recipe a little bit, that it might work out better if you put the sweet potatoes in the bowl. Then you could shake it all around, because once they're in the pan, it's packed in pretty well and it's hard to toss to coat at that point. So yeah, I think before I put this recipe back in my binder, I'm going to write that on there for next time. My future self will thank me for that. So I'm just doing the best I can. And if every single surface of the sweet potatoes is not coated, it's fine. I've done this recipe, like I mentioned, for at least 15 years. It'll be fine. When they come out from the first baking session, they're going to get mixed around again. So that's my oven telling me that it's ready. So I'm just going to go ahead, put this in. Nope, cover with aluminum. And like I mentioned, I'm never one to remember all the steps in a recipe. And you would think because I've been making this for 15 years, I would have it memorized. But nope. On the other hand, I'm usually only making it 1 or 2 times a year. So I've got my pan covered with the aluminum. I'm going to stick it in the oven, set the timer for 15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to put this on pause and I'll catch up with you guys in 15 minutes. So while I'm waiting for the 15 minutes to go by, a couple things to share with you that you might find interesting. If you're wondering about the stove here, it is a double oven, and we've had this thing, my husband and I, for since 2005, the year that we got married, and we love it so much. What it does, it enables us to, on big events where, like Thanksgiving or anything where we are hosting, we can keep both ovens in use, and it is so fantastic. Or when he's cooking the turkey, he'll use the big oven at the bottom, and then I can keep the dishes cycling, casseroles, whatever, cycling in and out of the top oven here. It has been such a nice thing to have. So if you are in the market for a new stove or oven and you only have space for like a standard size unit, consider this for sure. We have loved it so much. So I don't have any skin in the game on that, just sharing something with you guys that I totally love and it's totally useful. I also find it so handy when I'm doing Christmas cookies. We do an event here at our house every year that I call Cookie Day, where I spend the whole day just baking Christmas cookies, all kinds, chocolate chip, oatmeal, peanut butter, like, and I'll try new ones. And I can use both ovens, and which is really handy. I can just keep the cookie tray cycling in and out, and it is such a game changer. So just a little word to the wise if you're in the market for a new unit. So we've got our timer. That's our 15-minute first bake. I'm going to pull that pan out of the oven and meet you back here at the island. So the next step is to just take the foil off of the pan and put them back in. So at this point, they really haven't softened up too much. They're still, pretty firm. So we're supposed to stir them around, and doing this as best as I can with the limited space. I think the point of this is just to try to get all of the surfaces of the potatoes coated with the butter and syrup mixture. And make sure I'm recording this. Okay, it is pretty tough to get them all turned over, and truly it's fine. Just do the best that you can. So now they go back into the oven for 15 minutes uncovered. had a little splash over here. Okay. So I'm going to put you back on pause for 15 minutes. First, I wanted to share with you guys one of my favorite things when I'm cooking using the oven. These are the oven gloves. I have had these for at least a dozen years and maybe even a little bit longer than that. When I got these, they were, I saw them just in maybe Walgreens or one of those stores that has the whole display rack for as seen on TV. And that's what these were back then. They were relatively new on the market and they looked really cool. So I went ahead and bought this pair and I haven't looked back. These are the same pair that I bought back then, still using them. They've been through the washer and dryer so many times. They are used for handling hot dishes or hot, when you're working in the oven, pulling out hot pans and so forth. And I can't tell you how great these are. I never ever use one of the standard like cushioned pot holders like ever again. Like I've never even used one of those ever again. It's always my oven gloves, and they have sort of these rubbery strips on them. I'm going to bring it in a little closer to show you. You might already know about these, but these are fantastic. Love them so much. And I think nowadays you can probably get these on Amazon. I'll look for a link and put it down below in case you're interested. But these are the bomb. They're so sturdy. I don't know exactly what they're made of, but they're knit, so they're stretchy. And they fit my husband's hands. He's, of course, bigger than I am, and he wears them. We both love these and swear by them. So just another little PSA in case you're interested in those during the holiday baking season. So now I'm going to put you on pause and I'll catch back up with you in 12 and a half minutes. For you, it'll be instantaneous though. And we're back. I'm going to pull this out of the oven. And the last thing that we're going to do is to sprinkle our chopped pecans over the top of the potatoes. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just get them, scattered around as best as you can. And a lot of them are going to fall through the spaces in between the potatoes and go right onto the bottom of the pan. It is not a big deal. They won't burn because there's the buttery syrup mixture in there. And then we just stick it back in for 30 minutes. This is the longest bake, and the oven's still on 400. It's been on 400 since the beginning, so you don't have to change the temperature at any point. Okay, got my timer set, and I'm going to put you guys on pause again. This will be a long one for me at least. It'll be pretty much instantaneous for you guys. We're going to then pull this out of the oven, see how it looks. So I will catch back up with you. All right, that is the sound of the sweet potatoes being done. I didn't check on them while they were baking, which maybe I should have, but I think they're going to be okay. Pull this out. And I can hear them sizzling. Let me show you this. Turn my oven off. And so they look really good. I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer to share with you. So the pecans get nice and toasted on there. This is a really, really good recipe. It's my favorite way to roast sweet potatoes. I think like many years ago, I would do that recipe that has like the marshmallow topping, but this by far, to me, beats that. We all have our favorites and ones that we don't like quite as much, and I do love the one that has the toasted marshmallows, but this one kind of won my taste buds over many years ago. So this is what I stick with. All of our guests seem to really like it. And I would like to go ahead and try one, but I'm sure that they are so hot right now. I am going to get a fork and just kind of, so they're tender for sure. I don't know how to make that show up better, but they're not mushy. They still have some firmness, and they're going to be coated in that maple syrup and butter topping along with the pecans, and it's so good. So that is what I had to share with you guys today. I hope that you found this helpful, and I'd love to know what is your favorite way to cook sweet potatoes. I'm going to get this moved over to the stove so it can cool, and I'll be right back. I'm going to cover that back up with my same piece of foil because this pan does not have a lid that came with it, so that I can transport it to work later on, and hopefully my coworkers will enjoy having these sweet potatoes on this very cold night. Let me know what your favorite way to cook sweet potatoes is. I would love to hear about it. And I hope that you will tune in next time. Maybe we will get back to the cozy series that I started before, like what a gardener does to stay cozy over the winter. If you have any suggestions of things you would like for me to talk about this winter until it's time to start garden planting, put it in the comments below. I will definitely take that into consideration. And I hope that you have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.